Defendant Barazan Ibrahim Al-Hassan. Defendant Taha Yassin Ramadan. Peace be upon you. Defendant Abdullah Kadhim Al-Wayed. Bring them pads and pens. Peace be upon you. Ya Allah.
Defendant Mr. Abdullah Kadhim.
Defendant Mazhar Abdullah Kadhim.
Okay, well, we're just going to reintroduce our guest who's sitting on the stage with me here. Mark Ellis, you've just been saying what we're going to expect from the trial today. Some chilling testimony again, do you think?
I think so, and I think it's, again, carrying on from yesterday where you had witnesses that appeared and that were able to directly associate the defendants to the acts that occurred in Dujail. That was an important nexus to make, continuing to set kind of the widespread systematic attacks that were committed during 1982 in Dujail. This too is important. You may even see today some of the decisions on some of the emotions that have been made. We know that the defense has made an issue as to the legality of the tribunal and as to the immunity that they suggest Saddam Hussein should have. These issues have not been resolved yet, but perhaps today the court will make a decision on those as well.
Because I think you touched on a very important point there. The prosecution needs to show widespread and systematic violence against civilians to show crimes against humanity, and it's that pattern that needs to be set up, basically. And it's all very well hearing these chilling testimonies, but this is a court of law, of course.
That's correct, and I think that's why it's important, though, that the witnesses are being heard, first-hand witnesses, and in fact victims that are able to describe in chilling detail the acts that occurred. And these acts are all part of setting forth crimes against humanity, acts of executions, murder, torture, other inhumane, degrading treatment. And this is really what these witnesses, complainants, are doing, is kind of setting that groundwork. But you started seeing yesterday direct association with defendants.
Such as Saddam's half-brother, Basil al-Takriti, who was head of the intelligence, people pointing him out in the courtroom.
Exactly, saying that al-Takriti was in fact there. He participated in some of the torture, and of course this is what resulted later on in the trial. Al-Takriti was very adamant in standing up, saying, no, this is not true. But the point is you're beginning to see this nexus. That has to occur. They'll have plenty of opportunity to do this, but you're seeing it very early on with these witnesses. It's a very important step.
And it's all very well talking about the witnesses building a case, but there's also then got to be that direct link to Saddam Hussein as well, not just the state as such. Or does he as former head of state, he represents the state, and the important thing is to pin it on him in terms of the prosecutors.
Well, clearly in the case itself, they're saying that Saddam Hussein ordered these acts, and so they'll continue to move towards showing, either through the witness statements or through documentation evidence that will come later, I'm certain. But they will also at the same time build this theory that Saddam Hussein was in charge, that he knew or should have known that these crimes were being committed, and even if he didn't order them, he would still be held individually criminally responsible for them. So again, it's kind of a two-track approach that they're building on this, and they're trying to connect him at least to the knowledge of these acts that occurred.
Well, we are watching a delayed feed of this trial. More witness testimony is expected today. Chilling testimony yesterday. One person saying how he had his fingernails pulled out. Another person saying that he'd walked through dead bodies at the headquarters of Saddam Hussein's Ba'ath Party headquarters. These sorts of testimonies more than likely, according to Mark Ellis, to be heard today. Let's listen in to the trial.
And at the time of the incident, I was 8 years old.
I was 8.
I only remember
only
the planes
the airplanes,
shelling the farms.
the orchards,
The army
and the
went in. A lot of army
was there.
people, heavy shooting also, I remember. The airplanes were flying at low altitude over the area. What do you mean by the accident? Which accident?
You mean
They say that shooting
there was a
took
fire?
place against Saddam Hussein. Yes, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
At that time,
Particular time,
after a few days,
after a few days,
they arrested my family. That is made up of my father and 3 of his brothers and their mother, who is my grandmother. And after we asked
checked the rest
my
of the
uncles
family,
and others, we at that time asked about why they were arrested, who
did
arrested them. They said the security,
official
Abu Ahmed, the security officer and his group, and the party official, Abu Nabil and his group, were after the arrest. And people whom we did not know, maybe the army that came to the city at that time. After 4 years, my grandmother was released with the families of the people of Dujail. We asked her as to what had happened to her in prison
happened to her inside the prison,
and as to where her kids were. She said, I left my children in Abu Ghraib after we had been to intelligence together.
a prison.
She complained
Told
to us about what happened to her, what had happened to her. She complained to us about what happened to her, what had happened to her in terms of torture at that time. She told us that they used to torture her before her children, and they would torture her children before her. What's her name? Her children before her. Give it to you.
I will write down in a piece of paper and pass it to you, Your Honor.
She said they tortured us and we did not know for what reason. They were torturing us, for what charge, for what accusation, for anything.
basis?
We did not know for what reason. She said, Your Honor, this is not his. She said, Your Honor, this is not his. This is not his
testimony.
This is not his testimony. He didn't see that by his eyes.
To the
He is complaining. He is complaining. But she said and he said,
don't interrupt him. Don't interrupt him.
What he said, thank you. He is a complaint witness. He isn't plaintiff. He's complainant. You have your own feedback or comments. That's fine. I'm making a complaint on behalf of my father and uncles. They were arrested at that time. Their names are mentioned in the case. We don't know anything about him since that time. He has a complaint. He said my father and my uncles.
وعلما للمحكمة أنه صدرت أموالنا المنقولة وغير المنقولة وهدموا الدار التي نسكن فيها.
They confiscated all of our property and they destroyed the house we used to live in.
وجرفوا البساتين الذي
And they plowed the farms
لدينا.
that we used to have.
علما رأيت
And I saw
عند الإجراء
that
البساتين
when they plowed the farms, the bulldozers
الجيش الشعبي.
were under the protection of the Popular Army. I saw that with my own eyes. Your Honor,
I'm Alita Vasilova, the CNN Center. Our coverage of the trial against Saddam Hussein and 7 co-defendants has just resumed for the
diligence at that time, and I complain against Taha Yasir Ramadan because he was responsible for the Popular Army at that time. And I also complain against Awad al-Bandar because he was the one who signed for executing my father and uncles. I also complain against everybody that's proven guilty in this case. That's it. I request from the court to protect the witnesses and to compensate psychologically and financially for the victims.
خلينا نسأل عن الجثث استلمتوه؟
Did you receive anybody's? No, we did not. We haven't received anything.
جدتك
Your grandmother, is she alive? No, she died. She died after being released, 3 years after she had been released from prison. Do you have any questions? No. Can we see the witness? Yes, go ahead.
we're watching the testimony from the first witness for this day
My
in the
question
trial
is,
against Saddam
was she-
Hussein and 7 co-defendants. Just a reminder that we're watching this video. It comes to us with a delay, a 20-minute delay. Our correspondent Anish Raman is following the proceedings from the courthouse. He is able to watch things in real time, and he joins us now to tell us about what is happening right now, an interesting development. Anish, tell us about it.
Yeah, Ralitza, as I speak, Barzan Hassan al-Tikriti is asking the witness questions. What you are seeing, the witness, an 8-year-old boy at the time of this failed assassination attempt, being questioned there by the former Qatari Justice Minister, Nuaimi. The defense really pinpointing that someone of 8 years old at the time does not have the memory with specific